So here today to talk with us about how students are dealing with a remote learning schedule, I have junior theater arts major Maggie Sullivan. Maggie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So when it comes to classes, how many classes do you have in person that are in your kind of theater arts curriculum?
I have 3 in-person classes altogether, but 2 of them are in-person and theater.
So how have your instructors kind of approached this? It's kind of hard to be acting and be physical with other people. So how have your teachers adjusted to this?
Well, the entire theater department revamped when we heard that we weren't coming back this fall. And so all of our acting classes have been moved to the spring, and all of our in-person stagecraft classes have been reevaluated and redesigned to be online. There are only 3 in-person classes throughout the entire department. I'm in 2 of them, which is funny, but it's really hard. I'm in directing, and it's hard to not work with actors in person or learn how to work with actors and other collaborative elements of it when you're zooming in. So it's just it's very different though. A lot of the classes, in my opinion, have been really easy to transfer onto Zoom because it's more so information based, not application based. We're saving that for the spring because, knock on wood, we get to at least go back to a somewhat normal, maybe hybrid way of learning in person.
So when it comes to the kind of idea of remote classes, and especially we were going through the 2-week quarantine, what strategies were you taking in at least your director's class for a lesson plan?
We are actually in the beginning of directing our own productions, small productions. And so we are in the early stages of it, which is the script analysis, and auditions are coming up this week. And so we're in the technical base and not really working with actors yet. So quarantine kind of came at a perfect time with that class, just because we are talking about how to become a director, what should you focus on, should you allow and not concern yourself about, what work do you have to put in before you even cast a show. So it's very technical as of now. Yeah.
I was going to say, because you're probably lacking, usually we put on some theater performances, and in this case, we probably won't have any. I don't know if is that the case next semester? Are there any plans for a theater performance next year?
We have 2 shows that we're planning on doing, whether in Zoom or in person some way. Good Kids, directed by a student, senior Grace Surgott, and then The Importance of Being Earnest will be in later spring, directed by our professor, Dan Matisa.
So that idea of working with theater arts on Zoom, that seems like a pretty unorthodox idea. How did you kind of think of that when you're going into this?
It's very tricky. It's more so you have to factor in different variables that you would have never thought of if you're doing it in person. Obviously, connection issues or people talking over one another. Typically, in my experience, if someone starts talking and I'm still talking, either I'll be cut off, Zoom will cut me off, or they'll cut the other person off. And so it's very much about timing, and people need to know their cue lines. Know when to cut off, know when to start saying their lines so it looks natural, but you're not cutting it off technically.
So, but does the idea of being remote, does that open up any new ideas for creativity and what you can do and what you can do within kind of this web space?
Yes, it does. My play has 2 people, and traditionally, by the end of it, one of the characters will be singled out in a spotlight. And so I'm playing with the idea of one of their roommates turning down the lights really slowly, or the other person walking off the screen and then coming back on as though they're walking off stage. It does, performing on Zoom is a very difficult challenge that I don't think anybody would have known that we were going to be on this. But it's a roadblock that we just have to either climb over or find a different way. And it's very fun because it opens up a whole new creativity aspect that we have never thought of exploring.
Well, Maggie, that's all the time we have today. I'm so glad we could talk about these things.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, great. Back to you in the studio.